Ladies and gentlemen, I am here live on the Real Marketer Podcast with Tami Price, the Real Marketer Podcast, where we simplify social media for real estate agents. And today we're going to be talking about what I believe is possibly the greatest missed opportunity probably in the real estate space. I believe this so much so that there was a time where Google Business Profile, what was then called Google My Business, was my sole service because I just saw so many people not taking advantage of it. Such an opportunity for people to create immense amount of business for themselves with such minimal effort. I don't know, or I didn't know what Tami knows now. So I was doing this for people with less knowledge than what you're going to learn today over the course of this, say, 45-minute podcast. But Tami, we're speaking a little bit before we actually went live. This isn't a joke here. Since February 2022, you really got into this. You have closed over 40 transactions entirely organically from Google Business Profile, made over $350,000 of GCI. Like I said, this is not a joke. So first off, what the heck is Google Business Profile? Could you tell us about the magnitude of this crazy missed opportunity? And finally, why are so many people missing it for the, let's say, the quote unquote bigger fish, the YouTubes, the Instagrams, which are massive, but everybody's focusing on those, not Google Business Profile. What's going on there?
Right. Well, first, I think a lot of people miss the boat because they don't truly understand everything that they can do with a Google Business Profile, right? It is a free tool provided by Google that allows us to grow our online visibility and credibility. Most people build out a profile and think that that is enough, right? They try to get a few reviews, but they do nothing to manage the various sections of it, which was pretty much where I was in October of 21. I had a profile. I didn't do anything with it. I just thought, hey, I want to get found on Google. I attended a conference and someone was talking on the stage about Google My Business at the time. And they were talking about all these things. And I'm thinking, oh, you can do that, right? So I decided to make it kind of my one thing, do a really deep dive and learn more about it. So, of course, first I started with photos, added a few photos to my profile. Actually, I added a lot of photos. I went back and got photos from listings for several years and just started adding, a few a day. Then when I had someone pull me up on Google Maps and they walked to my office and I did a on-the-spot buyer's presentation and, started learning more and asking more questions about how people found me. Then I learned that the update section works very much like a social media feed. Everybody's constantly posting on Facebook or they're on Instagram, right? Well, Google has the update section, which we can treat that like a social media feed. So I started posting 1 to 4 times a day. Now I post anywhere from 8 to 10 times a day in that update section on my Google Business Profile.
So I want to get into how you managed to do that, because I think people listening to this would hear that and be like, well, that's crazy. Like I could never post 10 times a day. Well, first off, I will say that if you are thinking that, I hear you 100%, but if we're talking about $350,000 in GCI at the other end of that yellow brick road, then let's take the yellow brick road. Let's figure out a way to make it easier. But I also want to ask you, because the experience that I have, and I was working exclusively Google My Business, again, now Google Business Profile, was if you think about the types of people that are buyers, they're generally speaking exploring, right? They're not transactional yet. So those people typically come from, let's say, Facebook ads or through the MLS or Zillow or what have you. I think the glorious thing about Google Business Profile was that the people who are searching for realtors in your area are transactional. And who are transactional? Listings. And so I found that most people, almost exclusively actually, the business that was generated through this platform was listings. Are you finding that as well?
Actually, I'm finding in my market, it's more buyers who are finding me on Google. Gosh, I want to say probably 65% of the business that I have done from Google has been buyers. I've gotten listings as well, but most of that has been buyers.
I wonder why that is, because you'd think that if somebody's looking to purchase a home, usually they would just type in homes in my area. And I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I would anticipate that Zillow would be ranking above you for homes in any certain area. Perhaps there's a psychology shift in the way that people search for homes now, whereas beforehand they used to just browse themselves, but now they feel like they need a professional. Why do you think it is that you're getting buyers through this?
Well, I think that you're correct in how they start. They start on the Zillows, the realtor.coms, but when they're looking for an agent in a specific city, the top phrases that I have found, because I ask, they're looking for a top realtor in San Antonio, best realtor in San Antonio. They're looking at military friendly realtor or agent in San Antonio. So I find that those are reasons why I tend to be pushed into those searches.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's break down the actual strategies, right? Because I want people listening to this to say, here's my step 1, step 2, step 3 guide to making this happen. What strategies are you employing to get your name out there, to rank for these keywords, and to get more exposure?
So again, with me, like I said, I do 8 to 10 updates a day. Now, having a scheduling platform is going to be key, right? When I post my updates, I'm sensitive to keywords and talking in the third person. I don't use me, I, or we. I use my name. Tami Price is a real estate agent in San Antonio, Texas, right? Those are keywords that can be found. And I find that it's the consistency in the posting of the updates that helps build that traction over time. You want to be location specific, especially if you're a service-based business that doesn't have a physical location.
Yeah.
Including San Antonio, Texas, in all of, your location in all of the updates that you do will help Google when it's screening behind the scenes to find reasons to match that consumer's query. It's really important.
So do you suggest then that realtors find, let's say, the top 5 to 10 keywords that somebody would be searching for? And again, here's an interesting caveat here. The people who are searching for, let's say, the best realtors in San Antonio might be different than the demographic of people who are searching for another kind of keyword. So it kind of puts the ball in your court a little bit, is that you got to decide the types of keyword, you got to decide the types of people reaching out to you based on the keywords that you're actually selecting. So obviously there's a question which we're going to get into, is how do you find the keywords? But the preliminary step is, and I'm asking, would you suggest that realtors find 5 to 10 keywords that they want to target, and then every time they post include one or multiple of those keywords that they've predetermined?
Yes, you want to find the keywords that that you want to use and do a keyword search, right? So for me, I do want to work with both buyers and sellers, but being a military veteran, I also want to work with my veteran population here. We're a military city. So finding those keywords and incorporating not only those short tail keywords, but those long tail keywords, right? So when I'm creating content, I don't just say buyers or sellers. I say home sellers, home buyers in, X city, right? You want to be sure that you're including both those short tail and long tail keywords in the content that you're creating. You also want to make sure they're in your business description, right? So that when consumers are looking, Google just finds reasons to push you into the searches of those consumers. And I think people miss the mark because they focus so much on social media. But when you look at Google, 8.5 billion searches happen a day on Google, right? Yeah. And 46% of those consumers who are looking are doing so with local intent. So that means they're looking for a business or a service right in their backyard. So if you're present on Google and you're consistently maintaining that profile and feeding it, the likelihood of Google pushing you into those search results are going to be higher than someone who has a stagnant profile that's just sitting there.
Exactly. So the analogy that I always used to give on this is Google obviously wants people to keep on coming back to them. So imagine if you're someone who's trying to refer the right people, you're going to need to be good at referring people, right? Imagine like a matchmaker. If every time you suggest a match, it's a terrible call, people are going to stop coming to you. So Google has to make sure that when someone types in best realtors in an area, they're actually sending the best realtors in an area. And how does Google know if you're even operating? Well, this person's posting a lot. This person's clearly active and this person's not. Who do you think Google is going to send forward? And I love kind of that insight about finding those long tail keywords, something as small and nuanced as just instead of saying sellers in whatever, home sellers.
Correct.
That's awesome. So usually, again, this is the missed opportunity. I find that, again, I don't have the statistics on this. I would anticipate it's probably a little bit more than half of agents create a Google business profile and then end up doing nothing with it, which means that there's a lot of profiles out there that are just stagnant, not doing anything for the business whatsoever.
Right.
Let's say, because the first step is obviously to create the Google business profile. After you've done that, again, whether or not it was a year ago, 2 years ago, or yesterday that you created it, what's the first step to get it up and running and ready to go?
So making sure the profile is 100% complete, right? A lot of people will create their profile with some basic information and they won't walk through all the steps, right? They won't put in their social media links, which, by the way, before August of this year, Google pulled that information in crazy ways. Sometimes it was if you had your social links connected to the header and footer of your website. But in August, they made a change to where you could manually input all your social media links. So I think it's important for people not only to, one, set up their account the right way. There is a tremendous effort on Google's part to eliminate spam accounts or to prevent people from setting up as a location-based business by using an inappropriate address. So many accounts are being suspended right now because people are using virtual addresses, they're using co-working spaces, or trying to use a home address. So I think making sure that you're following those guidelines regarding appropriate use of an address, walking through and filling out all the essential information like your business hours. I'm sorry, we as realtors aren't 24/7. And when we put out that information, Google's like, hey, you know, if you're not going to respond to an email or a text at 3:23 in the morning, making sure that you have realistic business hours set. Mine are 9 to 6, right? So you're training the general public on your availability, and Google's saying, hey, this person does have genuine business hours, right? You want to go through and build out your services. I find a lot of people miss the mark on the services because not only can you populate the services that you offer, but you can go in and put a description for each service that you offer, and you're capturing those keywords again, right? Yeah. You're giving Google another reason to say, hey, here's this, you know, you're looking for someone that works with new construction. This profile has new construction mentioned in it, and they actually provide a description on that service, right? Going through and selecting attributes. If you're a veteran-owned business, if you're a woman-owned business, or, you know, Black-owned, Asian-owned, LGBTQ, and also they made some recent changes to include Indigenous-owned and disabled-owned. Those attributes are reasons why a consumer may select you, because people want to work with people who are like them.
Yeah.
Right. So making sure that you have all that information in there. If you are a service-based business and you don't have a physical location where clients can come and meet you, making sure you take advantage of the fact that you can set up 20 different service areas, whether those are cities, townships, counties, neighborhoods, zip codes. Capitalize on the fact that you can include up to 20 different service areas.
So there's a couple of things I had to write them down as you were talking that I have follow-up questions on. The first thing is you were mentioning address.
Yes.
And the co-working space might be a problem. Also, the virtual address might be a problem. A realtor who works in a brokerage, not going to put their home address down. They want to put their brokerage address down. Would that not fall into the same problem as a co-working space?
It is becoming quite an issue. I get tagged in a lot of posts, and I get a lot of questions, right? There's a broker somewhere right now that can't even get her profile verified because all of her agents are using her office address, and she owns the building and can't get her profile verified. It is because Google made a change in 2021 about co-working spaces, right? Unless you have distinctly different businesses, Google is really making it hard to get verified. I find that when people use suite numbers, it becomes a little easier to get verified, but I think we're going to have this issue moving forward because of these changes with co-working spaces. So, some of the things that they're requesting now are actual lease agreements. When they verify you, if you own the building, proof of ownership, business licenses, your articles of incorporation. There's a lot of things that Google is now requesting to make sure that not only are you a valid business, but you actually have some sort of lease agreement in place for the address you're trying to utilize, because so many people are using the same office address.
So what would be the solution then as a realtor who wants to get verified?
I think first and foremost is really paying attention to the guidelines that Google has. And if you are in a co-working space, one, you want to make sure that somehow you can have a separate suite address, right? We had one of our accounts, it wasn't mine, thank God, but someone that uses my office address. Took us about 2 months to get his account restored, but we switched it to a suite number and then worked with someone on Fiverr to go through the process of getting it restored. But it's getting harder to really advise people because Google's constantly changing the verification process. Like right now, the way that they verify is through verification video, right? So those individuals who have been using a home address for a long time, or those individuals who are in a larger brokerage office, if they make a change to name, address, and phone number, those are the top 3 that send red flags up to Google. So the likelihood of those red flags triggering some sort of suspension that requires them to now go back through that video verification process is going to be high. When we're looking at the difference between service-based and location-based businesses, when you have a location-based business, they're going to ask for you to video the exterior signage, the interior of the office. They want you to capture your workspace and those items that show that you truly are in the business of real estate. So signage, your license, your business cards, your computer and work area. For those who are inappropriately using a location like a physical address, it's made it more challenging for them because they can't provide that in a video verification, right? Yeah. So for service-based businesses, I always recommend, hey, you won't have the true power to rank for location, but with all the things that you can do on your profile, you can come up in searches. So be honest with the type of business that you set up. So for service-based businesses, the requirements for the video verification are a little bit easier. Now you want to take a space in your home, whether it's your home office or if you're working from your table or whatever, capture as much as you can that shows that you're in real estate, right? If you have a dedicated workplace, have your real estate license out, your laptop, your computer. Go as far as to put a lockbox or a sign or some open house signs so that you can capture all that in that verification video to submit. Now, people get so frustrated because it's not always the first time that you submit the video that they're going to verify. I've had agents take 5 to 10 times of uploading that video for Google to verify them. And really, it's so much harder because you've had so many spam accounts get created post-pandemic, and it's their efforts to fight spam that have really made it so much harder for people to get verified.
Yeah. And I also want to add here, there are very few companies in the world, maybe Facebook takes the cake, but I don't know, that it's harder, that's harder to get in touch with tech support that's legitimate.
Yes.
So on Google Business Profile, if your review is not showing up, like they have all of their processes, just as an example,
right?
You're not talking to somebody who can actually fix the problem for so long, if ever. Right. So as you're saying, and you mentioned something in there, you mentioned it kind of quickly, but like, don't try to play the algorithm. I say this with social media also. Don't try to play the algorithm. Let them decide the rules of the game and you play their game. So with Instagram, don't try to figure out, like, if I do it like this and then if I throw my hand up at the 13-second mark for some reason, like, don't do that. Just make good content in Google. Play by their rules. Give them whatever the heck they want.
100%. Yeah.
And I would also say that the challenge, I think, becomes is it's really true for any agent. Let's just look example for EXP. This is something that's really relevant to them because obviously as an online brokerage, it's like you've got the same thing. At least let's say if the Keller Williams, for example, you can ask the Keller Williams brokerage, hey, do me a favor. Can we just like make a bunch of suite numbers so that we all have our own little space? For EXP doesn't really have that. So this kind of really becomes, I mean, it's relevant for anyone really.
But I'm with a cloud-based brokerage. So it's really relevant.
Yeah. And it's very difficult, I think, or sometimes they can make it difficult to get started. And if you do get in there, like, count your blessings, the fact that you like got in and that you're good to go. But also know, and I think this is something that we haven't yet got to, because as much as it might sound right now like, oh, so much work, not worth it. Like, it is glorious at the other end. So that's what I want to get into right now.
Yes. Yes.
So I want to just kind of open the floor to you. Just tell us a little bit about your experience, why you love it so much. And now that we're through there, almost like imagine you're watching a movie and everything's painful and all of a sudden they break through the barrier and then they get to this promised land and it's glorious. That's Google Business Profile. Like, what does that promised land look like for you?
So for me, so again, I started really managing mine in 2021, right? My first transaction, literally within a month and a half, I had my first buyer, right? In 2022, I closed 13 transactions directly sourced from Google. No ad spend. And really, I got into Google Business Profiles because I didn't want to be on video. I still don't want to be on video. I do them now. And but then it was, okay, I need to grow a presence and I need to figure out how to do it without video. So that was Google Business Profiles for me. So 169,000 gross commission income my first year using, building out my presence on Google. Fast forward to 2023, I've closed so many more transactions. I have more listings coming up. And again, in the time frame that I've been doing it, I've closed over $350,000 gross commission income, no ad spend. It's by maintaining consistency, right? Making sure that every day something is happening with my profile. It signals to Google that I'm still in business. I'm not happenstance. We add questions and answers. I work with my products section. Again, those updates are set on autopilot, but then we go, my assistant and I, we go in and we manually add updates throughout the week as well. So for that. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I'm looking at the amount of effort that I put into it, yeah, 8 to 10 updates a day sounds overwhelming, but I take 2 hours once a month and I build out content. I love ChatGPT. I build out an ideal client profile so I know the audience that I want to speak to. Once I build that ideal client profile out, I start creating updates. I tweak what ChatGPT has because it never really gives me the long tail keywords, but then I copy and paste that all into a Word document. Once I have all my updates, I then take those and copy and paste into Loomly. I add a photo for each update. And it's just, once I set it out, I'm done for the month. So between creating and scheduling, I probably spend about 4 hours a month, right? 4 hours a month to get the kind of return on my investment is nothing, right? Yeah. It's only overwhelming if you don't know what you're doing. But once you learn and you know how to do it, it's so worth it.
And again, that's the 4 hours per month to get the $350,000 from Google Business Profile, GCI, plus all of the extra work that you're doing for everything else. So when if someone, again, is hearing this and goes, yeah, but it's not really 4 hours a month, because it's like, no. For that part of it, for the little pocket change of $350,000 that we're talking about right now,
right?
That's a hell of a salary to be making with that time. And
absolutely.
And you mentioned it again. It's not about. It's all about knowing how to do it, or more likely not knowing how to do it. So we spoke about the most painful bit is getting it verified. And once you're verified, you're golden. And you set up your profile. You give it every single piece of information that it wants. You include all of your keywords. And then once you've done that, then you post as much relevant content as you possibly can. You schedule it out at the beginning of the month, and it might sound like a lot of work, but again, at the end of this yellow brick road that we're talking about right now are those 40 plus transactions, those almost $500,000 of GCI, and it's just a staggering opportunity. And I'm talking to the audience here, in case people are listening and thinking, sure, everyone is doing this. I promise you, very few people are doing this. How do I know that? Because I used to do this exclusively, and every single sales call that I had, it was, I'm sure other agents are doing this, right? And I would show them. I'd type in realtors in and include some of the top metropolitan cities in the US, and I would show them, does this look like a profile that's being looked after? And usually the answer was absolutely not. Same thing with videos. Everybody wants to be doing videos. Very few people actually are. Why? Because there's a barrier of entry that people just don't know what to do, and where you imagine in your own, maybe, let's say, limiting mindset, beliefs, whatever, think, I don't know what I'm doing, but everybody else has probably got it figured out. No. That Lambo that you saw them driving the other day was a rental. They don't really have it all figured out. They're not on Google Business Profile. They don't know how to make videos. They don't know how to do all of the stuff that we're telling you now. So in case you're hearing this and you're like, it sounds good in theory, but the opportunity is not wide open, this is like literally we're telling you about Bitcoin in like 2010. Like, this is it. This is it. So we've gone through all of the steps to get it going, to continue to operate it. You've got the posting profile that you mentioned. You said Loomly. That was a social media scheduler?
Yes.
Okay. We've got that. I would also throw another link out there called repurpose.io. I would have to double check that they connect to Google Business Profile, but basically you post to one platform and it automatically posts to others as well. I love repurpose.io. But something you mentioned beforehand is you said that the social media links, now you can add them, you never used to be able to. And so my question is, once you do that, do you find that they then start to feed into each other so that your growth in one becomes growth in the other, and vice versa as well?
I do believe I do believe that they do, right? Because I can tell where they originally come from, right? Especially, my website, my website traffic. I can tell how many people went from my Google Business Profile to my website on a monthly basis. But when I get them on the phone, I ask, how did you find me? I already know because my website's told me, Google. But then they tell me I went to, I clicked on your Instagram, right? Because it's right there on my profile now. I've watched some of your videos and I see the content that you're putting out, and I've decided that you're the one I want to work with. It's usually never a question of working with me. They usually ask, are you available to work with us? Here are our needs. Can you work with us, right? Which is so much better than someone who is coming in from Zillow and that lead's probably gone to 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Yeah.
So it's almost that it feeds into each other, but not in the algorithmic sense in that they're speaking to each other. It's just organically like, hey, listen,
organically, yes.
I saw your link. I clicked on it. You look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we move on, I want to make sure that everybody listening to this has the steps from I have no Google Business Profile to now I have it. Now I know how to set it up. Now I know how to continuously post on it. What are we missing, if anything?
So you want to make sure that, it's not just posting, right? Whatever type of business you are, if you're in real estate, getting into that product section and creating products that link back to your website, your landing pages, your blog posts. A lot of people overlook the product section. One, because they don't know what to do with it. Well, what kind of products do I add to that? Well, for those of us in real estate, those are houses and homes, right? Then you have your evergreen products. Maybe you have a buyer's consultation, a seller's consultation. Maybe you have a preparing your home for sale guide that you can link to a landing page. So when they click on your product and go to find that particular booklet, they register. Now you've lead captured, but they're also getting that product as an end result.
Right.
And obviously reviews, not only getting reviews, but making sure you're responding to those reviews. I find that a lot of realtors get reviews on their websites and then they don't bother on their profiles and they don't bother to even respond to them. But that responding to that review is hugely important.
I'm actually so happy that you mentioned that, because I'm going to give everybody listening to this a little bit of a job. And this is an example about how people aren't really doing this. Go onto Google and type in real estate agents and type in your area. Now, you could, for example, let's say you're in Houston. You could say real estate agents in Houston. I would want you to say an area close by to Houston that you happen to serve. So I don't know the Houston area. I'm actually going to use my own places. I live in Hamilton, Ontario. I might say real estate agents in Dundas. Let's say it's near Hamilton, it's a smaller area. If you type that into Google, you'll see how many reviews the top of the list has. So I'm looking right now, and there's one with 43 reviews. That's pretty good. Again, 43 is not anything that can't be beat, but it's pretty good. The next one has 9. Then there's 8. And so it just goes back to what we were talking about, where is this really an opportunity that people aren't taking advantage of? So you could take our word for it if you want, or if you wanted to be skeptical, which I suggest that you be skeptical, go and do your own research, type in realtors in your area and see how many reviews people have. And when you see that the first page of Google, there are folks on there with under 10 reviews and under a 4-star rating, you realize this opportunity that we're talking about right now. Go and see it for yourself. It's just absolutely bizarre. Throw the keywords in, make those posts, share the information about yourself, be honest with Google and let Google make the rules of the game. Don't try to trick it. Yep. And you'll have this level of success again that Tami's talking about right now. Nothing is really complicated. It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like Tami managed to see the opportunity, took the opportunity, had an open mind, and didn't tell herself, someone else has probably done it. And now she's flipping killing it with this. She has 2 courses on this. And I just want to, before we get into the rapid fire segment, ask you a little bit about what those courses actually are. So can you take a moment to tell us about that?
Yeah, so I saw that there was a need because a lot of people really just don't know what to do. So what I did is I first created a comprehensive course for real estate agents so that they could learn all the ins and outs of Google Business Profiles, how to, 1, create, edit, manage, and optimize, and then manage all the various sections. There, I have tutorials in there. I have step-by-step instructions, even have photos. Like, here you go, find your business on search, because once Google My Business went away, we no longer have an app, right? I also find that some don't even know how to access their profile on Google Maps. So I have step-by-step directions in there. I have a whole section on creating content and for updates. And, when we're talking about people not utilizing, I've had over 130 people sign up for my training course, right?
Wow.
When I look at how many people have not yet started or haven't completed, but they get a little bit of success after making it just a few changes, and they think, oh, I don't need to finish. But once I created the one for real estate agents, I then transitioned to create one that was for any type of business, right? I talked to them about reviews, how to recover reviews, how to ask for reviews, more than just at the end of a process. There's so many opportunities, so many happening moments in a process to capitalize on, right? If you're asking for reviews at happy moments, you're more likely to get one than waiting to the very end of a process when people are moving on with their lives.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So we're going to share the links to your trainings underneath this, but just while we're here, if someone's driving and they can't make a note, what is the link that we can access your training?
So the best thing that I tell people is go to the link in my bio on Instagram, because I have both links for my trainings in there. It's a really long link because I built my training programs on a platform called Thinkific. So it's,
Gotcha. Okay, now for the final segment of this podcast is the rapid fire. And it's usually a little bit of fun. It's usually a little bit intimidating for people because they don't really have time to think. And so we want answers as quickly as possible, because the quicker you can answer, the more truthful the answer. Are you ready, Tami?
Yes.
Okay. As always, we're going to start out really nice and easy, make you think it's going to be easy, and then we'll get a little bit more tricky by the end of it.
All right.
Do you have any hidden talents that people don't know about you?
Not really.
You got to give me something. Even if it's curling your tongue.
I can whistle with my tongue. That's about it.
I'm not actually sure what that looks like. Do you mind?
I can't even do it right now. Stage fright.
When you say a hidden talent, you mean it's really hidden?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, if you could go on a dream vacation anywhere in the world tomorrow, where would you go?
Italy.
Italy. The food, the landscape,
I went to high school in Italy, and so I haven't been back in 30 years. So if I could go one place, it would be to go back to Italy.
That's awesome. What's your go-to activity for relaxation after a busy day?
Binge watching a show on Netflix.
Any particular shows?
I just, Survival of the Thickest. I binge watched that yesterday as I was homesick.
Okay, I have never heard of that one, but I will check it out. Is it a recommendation? Based on your laugh, I'd imagine it's a bit of a guilty pleasure show.
It's a guilty pleasure show. Okay,
yeah, I figured. I don't know if you're listening to this, you probably didn't see her face, but I'm telling you right now, it was one of those faces there. She could have said Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Can you share a book recommendation that has significantly impacted your life?
A book recommendation. Mine are all real estate related. Like, I love Phil Jones' Exactly What to Say. Yeah. It's helped me so much in critical conversations.
Who or what is your biggest source of inspiration?
That would be my dad.
Why?
So my dad spent 26 years active duty Air Force, and he's still working at 75. He just turned 75 the other day. Been civil service since 1997. If anyone inspired me in my life, it would be my dad, because he taught me my work ethic, right? I should be home still laying in bed, but I knew I had this coming up. So I wanted to make sure that I showed up, and I credit that to my dad.
That's beautiful. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and if in however many years my daughter says that I'm her biggest inspiration, I'll know I've done something right.
Yes.
If it's movie night, then what genre are you picking?
If it's movie night, I love a good action movie. Usually military related.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah.
If you weren't a real estate agent, what career path would you have chosen?
Oh my gosh. So I got my master's in counseling. I thought I was going to be a therapist. Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, real estate agents are also therapists.
Yes, we are.
I also say marketing is like communication on the macro, and therapy is communication on the micro. So my brother's a therapist, and through talking, we realized that we're kind of have the same jobs. Just I'm speaking to a lot of people and trying to diagnose a lot of people's pains and fears and goals and desires, and he's just doing it to one person at a time.
Yes.
So really, his job is a cakewalk compared to mine.
Correct.
What are your end goals?
My end goals. Eventually, I would like to work my way out of residential real estate and do more in the realm of teaching and coaching.
In real estate or in any industry?
Real estate primarily. That's what I know. 16 years, right? So, yeah.
And then finally, what are you the most scared of?
Ooh, I think failure, right? I think that would be my biggest fear, failure, not being able to provide for my family. Because let's face it, I have 3 kids, 2 are adults, and I'm still supporting everybody.
Mm-hmm. So being able to, I guess, show up the way that they need you.
Correct.
That's a lot of pressure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Okay, Tami, thank you so much for your time. This has been an incredibly insightful episode. As I mentioned, I will post all of your links below. So I'm not going to ask how people can find you, because really just search up Tami Price. I'm also going to have all of the links below. You're going to have absolutely everything you need. But I really, really urge you. I've watched her videos. I've watched Tami's content. Go give her a follow. Go check out the courses and trainings that I'm going to be posting as well. Because, I mean, you mentioned before we went live on air that you've been dubbed the Google Queen. I know you didn't love that nickname, but it makes sense because you're just so good at what you do. So following Tami might be the greatest decision that you can make for your business. So Tami, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.